Okay. So I think I'll start by introducing us. That I'm Ayla, and you're Gilad,
נכון.
and um, you've already made a few recordings teaching meditation. That since I've known you, and I should say that we're married.
Mhm.
Since I've known you, you've had a serious meditation practice, and since long before I knew you,
Yeah.
and both on and off the cushion. And it's a practice that, as far as if I were to tell it, I would say it's really what your life is about more than anything.
נכון.
And one of the key teachings that you work with, that you've taught me and worked with me also, is the idea of as it is, which my understanding is like accepting everything as it is in every moment.
It's also this. It's also, for me, it's also a tool to, in the meditation, like to go from the regular state of mind to the meditative state of mind.
So that in any moment, if you use this,
Yeah,
it
in
brings
every
you
moment.
to awareness.
If I use it, and it's take time, like it's a tool that I need to use in a certain way for at least 1 minute, very steadily until it's really bringing me to 0 point. Like suddenly I'm objective again. Yeah.
So what I want to do, because we're just introducing ourselves and introducing you, is I think bring our viewers into, I'm a fiction writer, and we call in story, we have something called the narrative occasion, which is like when the story begins, something is happening, something starts it. And as a writer, I always find the beginnings the hardest because there's so many to choose from. But you could start here, or you could start earlier, or you could start later. And I feel that where we're starting right now, the occasion for starting, because you've been thinking about making these videos for so long, you've been thinking about teaching for so long. But what brought us here today, or maybe not even what brought us here today, but where we are today, is at a bit of a dramatic occasion, which is that you've received a diagnosis of ALS, which, yeah. And I was thinking about where to start this today, and I was thinking about how we've had a little time. We had time with some of your symptoms. You had time before you even told me anything, and you did that really purposefully. You needed time with yourself before you shared it with me. And then we had time, a lot of time, before there was a diagnosis, and then before we shared with other people. And when I did share with everybody, I had really come to a place of acceptance, complete and total acceptance. And part of that is because you come so easily to acceptance. And generally, and I do too, generally, especially I've talked to you about this, especially with things that are big. With smaller things, I'm like dust in the house. I'm less accepting. So when I first told my friends and family about it, people were moved, and people were had many responses, their own responses. But one thing that happened, and this is leading me to my question to you, is that is that many people sent me private messages saying, but really, how are you? You know, like,
Also, I got one.
but really, you must be sad, or this must be hard. Or also, I got a lot of people's reflections about what they perceive as our future. Like, oh, this is going to be really hard, you know. So I want to hear, I think because people asked me, you know, but so how are you really? And one thing I did was I let them in a little to, you know, okay, I didn't start here, you know, there was some shock and there was some, but I feel like because that's where people, that's the response that I got from so many people that I thought I'd start with that question to you of, but how are you really? And how can you explain to people this acceptance and this even some joy and even some, however, how are you and how would you explain it to people?
The answer to this question for me, it's not just words. The answer to this question, really to accept it or to really understand it, it's a matter of a lot of years and maybe of lives of hard work. First of all, how are you? How are me?
All of you.
How am I? I'm really okay. I'm really okay. I'm really after a very, very long and intensive meditation practice that luckily happened so much like intensively, and things happen and fruits arrived about 1 year ago. So I really feel lucky that I came to this experience really ready. And I'm just okay. I'm not in pain and anything like this, so I have a lot of physical limitation. But whenever I'm just still, I kind of every time again actually forget my my situation and all my illness or whatever to call it. So I remember a story. I was in the army. You know the story?
No? I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah, probably you know. I was in the army. I was an officer in the army. And after the army, every year you need to make about 1 month of serve. And after I really started with the meditation, it was such a contrast that I could not content it anymore. And I just stopped to come year after year. And really, while really practicing and learning, and for many years I was a kind of a nomad, just live in places. And so after many years of every year I came and get some fine and finished with it, they decided to send me to a psychologist to stop with it and to say maybe I'm not fit to the army. So the psychologist sat with me. And most of the people, you know, play something, give something, and I was just in a friendly conversation. And he just could not find anything that he can say that, okay, you are not fit. So in the end he went out, and after some minutes came back all shiny and asked, I saw that he have a question for me. He asked me, tell me, what is for you the meaning of life? So I really honestly told him, for me the meaning of life is preparing to the moment of death. And he told me, okay, I think we got it. You're free. But this is really not funny, and this is really, for me, the essence of my meditation practice. And it's not only meditation practice, self-development practice, and enlightenment as a goal in the life, as it was always for me since I really remember myself.
Here I have to ask you, and this is really a sincere question, meaning I'm not just asking it so that you can explain it to other people. It's a question that I really am also asking for myself, is what do you mean by enlightenment?
Okay, so I started with practice that for me it was meditation, and for me it was the essence of the practice was observation. And slowly I find myself more and more in the Buddha teaching, and with many Vipassana courses and many, I really connect to the text, and I'm really feel that he speaks to me. So slowly with understanding, not just like a religion or something, really with deep understanding, I start to use more and more the terminology of the Buddhist teaching. And in the terminology of Buddhist teaching, it's all like a university. It's nothing in the air. It's nothing about mystics. It's just really about places and stages of purification of the mind and wisdom that can be arrived only by experiencing and understanding. And every one of us that start to make a practice, spiritual practice or self-development practice, start somewhere and discover more things and understand more things and more things. But with this, the mind itself, the consciousness itself, learning things in a way that it's not like it was before. Also bodily it can be like the classic example of after you learn to ride a bike, so you don't forget, like something inside you really changed. So it's like this also in the meditation practice. And after some level, after some amount of purification, and mostly it's happened in retreats, mostly it's happened in a very intensive practice, suddenly something happened that it's not like before. And in the Buddhist text, really there are 4 levels to the enlightenment. Enlightenment, it just says that something inside you see the things in a way that no one can already tell you that it's not like this. And in the first and the start stage, called stream enter, you really get in control of the identification with your own body. Something inside you see your own body just as a body, like not much different than a body of a stranger. With this, you want to live and you want to maintain your body and everything is okay. It's not says that the body is not important or precious, but still the level of identification is dropped dramatically, and something inside you see the things differently, and here it's all start. Mm-hmm. And enlightenment, it's a really technic term of some very specific stages that, like in the first stage you lose the identification with the body, and also you lose the doubt about the practice. Something inside you know that this is the practice, although maybe you don't do it, but something inside you don't have doubt about it. And after it start to be more pure and more like you lose the identification even with the practice itself, and just. But for me, enlightenment is really a technical term.
No, that's really interesting. I've also told you this story that the first time on a silent meditation retreat, which I went on a few before I met you, the first time that I had the experience of really what you've now told me is jhana state, but I didn't know that then. I just knew that I really felt like I knew that I was meditating, but I had this sense that if I opened my eyes, I would be really surprised to see walls, or surprised to see my own body, or surprised to see that I was in a room. And I started to understand that the way I got there the first time, sort of luckily, was because I had so much pain in my back from sitting all week that I just kind of separated myself from that pain. And when I did that, that's when I, and so then I started to use it as a trick, and I started to almost wait for the pain, that when the pain came, like without the pain, I had no way to.
So this is exactly for me
go.
the as it is technique. This is my trick.
That's better than back pain.
It's not matter, you just need to have a trick.
Yeah.
And we're speaking about in the meditation, it's not connected to the enlightenment, it's something else. In the meditation, while you meditate, if you start to be a little bit more professional, let's say, in the meditation, so you bring yourself to a higher state of consciousness that in the Buddhist practice called jhana. There are much more than four, but there are four general jhana that this is what you describe. Like in the first jhana, the thoughts are still there, but the hindrances not. Like there is no any negativity. So everything is so good. This is really in the meditation. Everyone that really practice quite fast will develop his own tool to get into the first jhana, and after a lot of practice also you can do it like I really do it, bring it to your own life, and can every time that there is some wave of overwhelming thought or whatever experience, you can bring yourself back to equanimity.
That's amazing that you can always, for me, I can't say that I can always get there, but I can say that I always know it's there. Like I always know that this state exists and exists within and without me. That I always, I once you've experienced this, then you know that this is always.
Yeah, this is exactly about it. This is the wisdom of the practice. It's a wisdom that based on experience, and then.
Only on experience. Otherwise, it's just words. Well, I want to ask you something. So we're talking about this tool that involves, tell me if this language is okay, but like objectification of the body, that you are not the body, that you are not your body. And at the same time, there's so much, and I've experienced that. I know what you mean, and that's what I was describing. And it's a very peaceful state. At the same time, there's a wisdom that we get from our body, that when people say trust your gut, or that, not just about physical pains and things like this, but that you really can know how you are in a way from listening to your body. So can you speak about is there a paradox in that? Is that
there is not paradox at all. The important thing for me that I learned and that I believe in, it's actually a key in the practice. In the meditation time, you have a tool that you choose before the meditation. One of the most classic tools is to observe the breathing. But if I choose it after a long time of developing, and for me, like everyone slowly in the practice develop a tool that really speaks to him and can make him this trick that go into the stream, and then everything is okay. And of course we keep on developing tools, but I'm speaking about the most important and the first tool that for me it's the as it is. But this is just for me. This tool actually is when I tell myself as it is. I remember that the real as it is really what my five senses sense right now. Nothing more than this, because everything else is already secondary or already second hand. It's not the first input of my body right now. And it's mostly because in the meditation I closing my eyes and I try to be in a quiet environment and so on. It's mostly the physical sensation, the sense of touch. But not only of touch of external thing, really the physical sensation of the body itself right here and right now. And this is the tool. In the meditation, you have to choose a tool and forget about everything else and not thinking, maybe I now observing my body and then I'm ignoring something or some information or whatever. It's not matter. In the meditation time, you just forget everything and just using the tool just because you're using this tool. Nothing else. It can be a candle that you look at. It can be everything. But then the interesting thing that happened, if you use this tool of observing the body sensation, after you finish the meditation, you are so much more sharp to really to hear all the information that your body tells you. It just suddenly you can really hear the information that the body tells you. So there is no paradox at all. It's just the
it's
same.
A nice answer. Yeah, and you can hear it more like as a primary source, not as what your mind tells you.
Of course, as a sensation.
Yeah. That's a great answer.
Tov?
So,
Tov is good.
Yeah, we haven't even said we're in the Negev in the south of Israel, which would explain the army story also.
The army story. Okay.
It's a good start.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really. I feel like, I started with where we are right now in the life, and I feel that although it's something that's happening in your body, it obviously has a really big impact on me because it's happening to you and also on my life. And I feel like you're my guide through it. One of the reasons I'm so okay is having I couldn't ask for a better guide.
My pleasure. Tov, Laila Tov.
Laila Tov.
Good night.